We now have a talk about survey data. Surveys are everywhere in political discussions, elections, and marketing. So it's important for us to understand how individuals respond to data and surveys. And Ali Riza, who is a PhD candidate in EPFL, will explain to us whether you can actually forecast surveys, and maybe we will learn if we even still need surveys in the end, or we just forecast everything. So I would love to, the few people we are, still give him a warm welcome. Ali Riza. Stage is yours.
Thank you. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Amirshahi from EPFL Lausanne. I'm happy to be here, and I will be presenting our work about the quotation-based modeling to predict the survey responses. And as a case study, we will focus on the favorability towards the United States. So in this presentation, I will be talking about a key tool that is very important in the researches, in organizations everywhere, that is survey. The surveys are, by the definitions, they are some methodology to gather the information from some samples of people and generalizing it to a larger group of population. They are beneficial in several ways, such as they can help us for critical decision-making, to reduce the risk of decisions, and also they can provide very nice representation about the public opinion about some questions that they are conducted in the surveys. Although they are very beneficial, the surveys, they have some challenges for conducting the survey. For example, they are financially demanding conducting the survey, and this one is very important also for the small companies and the small researchers. Also, gathering the data and gathering the surveys and analyzing it, or even designing the surveys is a time-consuming process. It has some risk, like the low response bias. We need enough people to answer the surveys, to analyze the survey, but sometimes we don't have enough responses. There are some privacy concerns. Maybe people, they are reluctant to answer some kinds of questions in the surveys. There are some also survey fatigue. It means that if the survey are too complex or too long, people after some while, they start to answer the surveys by rush, and it decreases the quality of the answers. Also for the online surveys, for example, we have some problems on the technological accessibility. It's not all the people that they are familiar with the online surveys. And also there are some cultural barriers that we cannot ask every question from every people in the world. So let's see the very high level, actually top level, the overview of the proposed solution. So we have some existing survey. So we have some survey any places, any countries, for example, here, or various times, for example, here years. But there are some missing data. So it means that in some years, or in some times, or in some places, we don't have the data of the survey. So still we have some existing data, but we want in our framework to predict the missing data that we don't have in the databases. And our framework works with the machine learning methods and the quotations. So this is the data set that we are using. First, the data set of the surveys that we already have, and also the quotations. How we can use the quotations, this is the topic that I want to discuss. But first, let's see the existing survey data set that we have. So Pew dataset, Pew is a research center, American-based, non-partisan, and they work on the surveys, and they conducted several surveys since 2001 across 70 countries, and the data set are completely available by public. And And the survey questions are very various on, for example, the public life, about the religion they ask the people, and the internet, technology, smartphones, these kind of questions in the survey they have. And the economic situation, how people, they are happy with the economic situation of the countries that they are living. And another question that they ask is the favorability of different countries or international organizations. So in this presentation, I will focus on the US favorability, but United States favorability, I mean, but it's as a case study. So what is the problem for this Pew data set? So I said that it's a very huge organization. They do so across several countries in the world. You can see here the world map for 2015, and the countries that the surveys are conducted in, they are shown by black color, while the others, they are white. So you can see that the majority of the countries, they were not involved inside the countries that the survey are conducted. And even worse is the 2020, that during the pandemic, they couldn't go maybe far from the US to do the survey, conduct the surveys. So this is the problem for the existing survey data set. The next data set that we are working on it is the quote bank data set. As I said, we are working on the quotations, and we want to find a solution for predicting the missing data in the surveys data set by the quotation. So the quotations are achieved by crawling the web domain. In this previous work, they worked on the huge corpus of actually web news, and they have, for example, around 180 million different quotations. I don't want to go inside the detail of this special model, how they go, but as a brief maybe introduction. So they have the web news, so they crawl all the data, all the text from the web, and first they detect one part that it is for the quotation. It is shown by yellow here, and after that, based on the BERT-based model, they extract the speaker of this specific quotation. So we have here, for example, the quotation, and it is from the Alain Berset, the president of the Swiss Confederation. So this is the second data set that we are working. So let's see the detail of our framework. We have the Pew data set that it was for the existing survey responses, and also the quotation data set. First, we will extract some keywords from the quotation data set, and after we apply some sentiments, and then we reduce some bias sources we have everywhere in the data. You know that some biases, and we need to reduce it as much as possible. And then we extract the nationalities from the speakers of those quotations. And finally, we apply a k-nearest neighbor regression to have something similar to the surveys, so some results similar to the surveys. I will go in detail step by step. So in the first step, we want to extract the keyword from the quotations. As I said, we have the quote bank data set with the quotations and the speakers. So we applied first some manual keywords, so US, United States, USA, something like this. And we have, for example, here something that United States is directly mentioned in the quotation. However, if we apply only these few keywords, we have a few quotations in the data set. And to enrich the keywords that we have, first we extract the most frequent American speakers in the data set, and we search in the quotations if their names are mentioned. For example, here you can see the President Trump is mentioned here in the quotation, so we choose this quotation. And by this way, we enrich the keywords that we have. The next step after is to apply the sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is a tool to find the polarity of for example, here the quotations, that we want to see that how much they are positive or how much they are negative in these quotations towards the United States. And we have a bunch of pre-trained model for the sentiment analysis. And we applied the best sentiment analysis model for the quotations. So we applied all the quotations that we extracted to these sentiment analysis tools to have the sentiment of the quotations. Then, as always, we have some biases in the data set. So we have some media outlets. Maybe they are too much positive to the United States or too much negative. Based on the sentiments that we extracted in the previous slide I said, so we have the distribution of each media outlet, and the one that is significantly diverged from the other media sources, we removed it because we know that this media X that is removed the name because of the privacy concerns. So we know that this one is too much positive about the news that they represent in this media. And then finally, we extract the nationality. So we wanted to have some quotations, and we want to map it to the countries. So we extract the nationalities based on the Wikipedia. However, some nationalities, some speakers in the quote bank dataset is unknown. And because of this, we have to remove these quotations from the dataset that we are working. So right now, we have the countries, we have the years, we have also extracted the sentiments from them. And if we group it by years and countries, we can have a distribution like this. So we have the sentiments, and we know that which sentiment is mostly actually represent the people in that country in that year. But the problem is that the PU dataset that we have, the existing survey there, they are discrete distribution, and we want to have some continuous distribution to discrete distribution transferring. And here is the quotation-based continuous distribution. We want to transfer it to the discrete distribution. It's easy. We have one pool of the continuous to discrete, and we have some pairs of continuous and discrete representation from the PU and the quotations. And the only work that we do is a KNN regressor and find the top K pairs that the continuous sentiment is similar to the continuous that we want. So here, we want to have the discrete distribution, and we have the continuous distribution. We get maybe top two pair that the continuous one is very similar. So we have here the 2-1, and we know already what is the discrete distribution for this one, and we only calculate the similarity based on the continuous distributions. And by this way, we can have a weighted average on the discrete distribution and have this result for so similar to the PU datasets. And the real-world scenarios that we are working is to put one country out, and after that work as a test set. So we assume that we don't have any data from that country. The other one is that we have data from that country, but not all the years. So some years are missed from that country. So here are some samples from the results. You can see for the Australia 2019, we have this loco is live one out country, and the other one SCV scenario. We can see that we can predict very well the ground truths, but sometimes for the Germany, for example, you can see the SCV works better. And for example, another example is the Hungary for 2018. If we define a loss here as a KL divergence between the ground truth and with the prediction, we can say that the loss that we have, so the lower loss, the better performance. The performance is better when we have the data from that country, but not specific years. And we want to predict those specific years that they are missed. And if we want to see the correlation with the number of quotations, the x-axis is the number of quotations that we have in the data set. And we see that based on the Pearson correlation coefficient, we can see that there is a significant correlation for the countries and years that we have more quotations. So the more quotations, the more accurate prediction that we have. And the last result that I want to show is maybe the most exciting one, that if we consider the countries that they have never been conducted war survey on it, And now, by this model that we did based on the quotations, we can predict them. For example, Switzerland, they've never been inside this Pew data set. Iran and New Zealand, that now, for example, for each country and some years, we can see that what are the results. So as a conclusion, we propose an approach for predict the survey response based on the quotations, and we focus on the US favorability as a case study. We had two scenarios for so put one country out completely, assuming that we don't have any data from those countries. And another scenario was SCV, that the countries were included inside the data set, but not some specific years. So the code is available open source. The data sets are also available. And thank you for your attention. I will be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Alisera, here is one gift for you from the conference. What kind of questions do we have? There's a microphone coming, 1 second.
So I have a question about the topic of the surveys and also how the quotations were collected.
So the surveys are based on the data set that Pew Research Center, the American-based one, they sent some people to those countries, and they took the questions in person, and they asked for the answers. And so they collected all this data, and they provided as a question, and some, for example, very favorable, for example, for this example that we discussed. So they have some few answers that they could choose. For the quotations, also based on the web crawling of all the web news. So let's say the other data set that we have for the quotations. Thank you.
I was wondering if it happens that if, for example, in the case of state-controlled media, you have a different outcome for the quotations than for the actual questions. Is it? Do you have something like this in your data set?
I couldn't understand actually. Sorry.
If you have you collect your quotations from official media. So maybe there's a state-controlled media with only the official position towards the US. And then you have the people, and maybe they have a different opinion than their state.
That's true. One assumption that we had is that the people, maybe the people's opinion about this specific case is the one that it was represented by the media. Actually, it's the media, they represented the quotations, so we know the speakers, and it's not the opinion of that media. But by reducing the biases, actually, we wanted to remove the medias that they always, for example, represent some quotations, positive quotations, or negative quotations. So there are still some bias, but we wanted to reduce it as much as possible.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
Thanks for the presentation. When you look at the leave one country out tests, are there any generalities you see on who performs well, who performs badly? Like, do European countries perform quite well because you have lots of other European countries?
Actually, we saw that for the correlation between the number of quotations and the loss that are represented here, we can see there is a correlation. So the more quotations that we have the accurate representation. And because usually medias, they like to represent the quotations in the European countries that you said, so we have more quotations from the European people, and after that, so the more accurate results we have from the European country, we can say.
Thanks.
More questions? What do you think? Do we still need surveys?
Surveys?
Yeah.
We need, actually, because we have one part of our work on the existing survey data set. But if we missed it in the past, so what can we do? So let's do some prediction about or forecasting that if we did, for example, in 2015, what would we have?
Okay.
The title is like a new approach to predicting survey responses, and it's a very specific situation where you have the name of a country and a quote and then can correlate it. Are there, from this technique, any other questions for typical surveys that you can apply this theory to, not just favorability of X?
It's a good question. Yes, yeah, because we have the pipeline of, for example, for the keyword extraction. So we need to have some keyword about the questions that you want to ask, and after that we can apply some tools based on text-based tools. For example, for the favorability, we use the sentiment analysis. If you don't want to have the favorability as the questions, maybe other tools they can help you. And after, for removing the bias, so this pipeline, I mean, is something that you can apply to other questions. I know that it's not possible for some questions that become applied to this one, but this one was a case study. So we think that it's possible for other types of questions.
All right, more questions, please. If not, then, yeah. Thank you, Ali Riza, once again.
Thank you.
Don't forget your gift.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, you now have time to change the room again. I see you in the next talk at 12:10, where we will talk about geospatial data and risk understanding for industry. Thank you very much.